One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Columbia, this is... This is Houston, AOS, over.
Welcome back. This is the TKW podcast. That's the Knicks podcast for first-time listeners. I'm your host, Mike Cortez. Joining me today, Kyle Maggio, Sean Geddes. I can't believe I'm about to say what I'm about to say. The Knicks have not lost a game since we last spoke, guys. A clean 4-0. A Sunday matinee featuring Zion Williamson's debut. I don't think it could have been scripted any better. RJ Barrett fouls out with about 4 minutes to go in the game. Knicks down 8 with about 2 minutes left to go in the game. Derrick Rose stepped up. Reggie Bullock stepped up. And once it went to OT, I feel like everyone on the team just felt like they knew they were going to win. It's a pretty glorious feeling. Sean, me and you worked that game. Is there even a best moment to pick out, or is it just all euphoria?
I think down the stretch for sure is just all euphoria. I would say the best moment. Oh, this is really early in the podcast to say this, but it would have to be at 3 minutes when the substitution was made, and Emmanuel quickly came back on the floor, because that's kind of when the run started, and that's when I went from being so disappointed about how we lost this game. And it's funny because with like a minute 48 on the clock, I think we were down 6, and I was watching with my dad, and that's why like this is even a cooler game, because I got to watch with my dad. But he was like, it's the Pelicans, like they're due to start turning the ball over or something. They don't close games well, and like right away they started turning the ball over, so the defense turned up. But I mean, the Emmanuel quickly floater that rolled out was painful, so it couldn't have all been joy, because there was a lot of pain in this, but all that pain went away the moment that Derrick Rose drove and Lonzo Ball looked away for a second, and he fired out the greatest chest pocket pass I've ever seen, and Reggie Bullock knocked down that three. That moment was, so yeah, that's definitely the moment for me, because it was like reminiscent of like that feeling on Easter when Melo beat the Bulls, where like the shot drops and it's just like, it's surreal, and like, even though the Garden wasn't full, you just know that everybody, and because we were working the game, everyone's just going nuts. Like, we can't believe what we just saw. And like you said, like Derrick Rose blocking the shot going into overtime. Like, I remember after Melo hit the shot, Iman Shumpert blocked Derrick Rose's shot to go into go into overtime. So, or to win the game. So, it was just all really dope. It was really poetic, and it was a beautiful thing.
I loved the Julius Randle versus Zion Williamson battle part 2. I was also really, really excited for Zion's first MSG game. I get excited for those things, especially when, now we have the Zion RJ factor, because now it's like that kind of probably means something to him regardless of the comments that were made yesterday. A lot of people, I feel like, have said those, same kind of sentiments, so it didn't mean much to me. But, seeing him like kind of come and come ready to battle with Julius, and they were really going at it, man. Like, that's the other part. I really liked watching that, because it was a physical game if you watched them, and it was just funny to watch, both of them still figure out how to be effective against each other, because like they played each other pretty well. Defensively, Zion was really up into Julius. He knew, he was gonna fade back. He knew, especially on the block, where he was gonna go. He followed him really well, and Julius, to his credit, doesn't just overpower anymore. He just finesses you, and he can hit those shots now. So that's what was happening. It was good defense, better offense, and better offense always wins. And, seeing him go right back at Julius the other way, he's still Zion. This is what's going to happen. I thought early they did a good job forcing him to take a lot of mid-range or kind of have to make decision-making in that territory. But he is Zion because he can just put his head down and find a way to. But, yeah, I don't know. It was a great Julius game to cap off an excellent 4-0 week, an excellent Player of the Week award for him. So that was a lot of fun. I obviously wish RJ didn't foul out. Would have liked to have him, gone into overtime and everything. But it is what it is. Reggie Bullock, an excellent three. He's been good, man. He really has been. He knows where to be. He knows where to be. It's an underrated skill in today's NBA, and he makes it rain from anywhere. He's in the corner. Those little trailing pull-ups that he likes to do. These handoff threes he likes to do. Any which way this season, I feel like I've seen Reggie hit a three, and ready for a big shot. He's been confident. He's been healthy, and he nailed it. And Derek did a great job drawing in the defense. I don't know why you'd help off a three-point shooter, Lonzo Ball. I don't get that, but that was, to me, really just poor decision making, because why not just let Rose have the two? But I'm not going to complain, because we won the game because of it. So it was really a fun game. It was a really fun game. I'm looking forward greatly to more of these Zion versus the Knicks games. I just feel like that's going to be a cool thing that we have, at least for a little while.
I think Zion, I get what you're saying, Kyle, about Zion, but he was glowing when he was talking about the Garden. He's like, I'm happy you asked me that. And then, like, the biggest Chuck E. Cheese smile I've seen when someone's talking about the Garden in a very long time. Like, LeBron says it all the time, but he doesn't say it in that manner. And I don't know. It just felt a little different. It just did. And then Lonzo, I don't really know. It looked like he was just helping his future team out, because I think Rose, there was maybe a second left in the game if Rose makes that layup, and the Knicks didn't have timeout. So either massive brain fart or Lonzo's just over this whole Pelican experience. But Reggie, man, star in his role. That's what Thibodeau was talking about even before the game. He was saying this team steps up in ways where each night someone different is the star. I mean, yesterday you could have picked 3 or 4 stars with Randle, like you said, going toe-to-toe with Zion and coming out victorious. That's huge. Reggie hitting those big shots. And then Derrick Rose, 23 points off the bench. And we said it right before this pod, Sean, when we saw Elfrid Payton check in, it was not a moment of hope, to say the least. I felt like that was going to be the classic, like, why did you make this substitution? This could have went another way if you did this and that. But it didn't. It just speaks to what kind of mode this team's going in. And Nerlens Noel, man, back-to-back games where he is just spiking the ball. Like, you're hearing contact like someone's getting smacked. It's really great to see, and he's just been a godsend since Mitch Robinson's been out, man.
Not only is he spiking the ball, but I want to point it out, like, in both of the last 2 games, the Dallas game and the Pelicans game, Nerlens Noel went to the line at the end of the game and cashed 2 big free throws at huge points in the game. And both times, I didn't have the most. I was in the Pelicans game. I was like, please give us one. And he went up there and cashed them both. And, we know from the beginning of the season, like, he wasn't doing that the whole time. So to be in big moments and go to the line and knock down big shots, like, that goes a long way for us. And, to make those plays, I think that we said he had the block. Like, everybody was saying it was a block of the year against Dorian Finney-Smith. And then I think the Brandon Ingram block may have been just as good, if not better. And I think it was with his bruised hand.
It was.
Like, the guy's just a warrior. Like, I don't know, what more can you ask for? So that's a beautiful thing. And Kyle, you've told me that I was right about a few things. I was killing Reggie earlier in the year. I mean, I don't think that what I was saying was unjust in the beginning, but I've since been very loud about it. And ever since, he really has been consistent. He's knocking down shots, and he was huge for us that game, even beyond the threes. I love the three. I love the one that Randle kicked out to him in overtime too, where Randle pump faked, got the defender off his feet, had the wide open mid-range jumper, and he was like, and kicked out to Reggie and knocked down a 3. But even before that, like, while we were struggling to score, to keep us in the game a little bit, he had 2 of those mid-range curls. And, Reggie was huge yesterday. He's been playing great defense from Luka to Brandon Ingram, whoever it is. Like, he's going out there and he's taking the number 1 assignment. And that, there's just so many people to be so thankful of. And even the Derrick Rose thing, Derrick Rose said post-game that he thinks what happened is that Lonzo thought he was going to lay it up and that he was coming to inbound it. And I really think that is what happened. Like, I think Lonzo wanted to go get a quick inbound or something because there's only a couple seconds left. You want to get the ball into a free throw shooter or whatever. So he's just going to that part of it because Derrick Rose really, got in the lane and looked like he was about to go up. And then just perfect timing. Like, you can't coach that. You can't teach that. Like, thank you, Tom Thibodeau. I don't know, man. It's amazing. And, Julius and Zion going back and forth. It was a treat to see. And to see Julius, win the battle. I mean, he's gone back. He went back to back. We had back to back national televised games to be our 5th and 6th games of our win streak, and they were against the two like darlings of the NBA and Luka Doncic and Zion Williamson. And Julius Randle was the best player, the NBA player of the week. So, like, man, what a time.
It's great to see the national media finally realize Julius Randle is really good. And now it kind of feels like they're going over the top almost, just because I feel like it's the first time seeing him. Like Jeff Van Gundy was gushing during a primetime game on Saturday night about the Knicks and Randle being overall, and he actually put Randle in his MVP conversation. He said, if I had a sheet of 12 people, Julius Randle's making that 12. So I thought that was spoke volumes to what he's been doing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's insane for the conversation to be had, is kind of the way I've been wording it. I think when you're talking about a guy who's MVP, it's a guy who checks the boxes sort of in every category, not just scoring and defense, but usually it's a guy who rebounds the ball reasonably well. Usually it's a guy who assists the ball in his playmaking pretty well, where it's going to pick up enough on the stat sheets. Like normally when you sort of get in that 5-6 plus range on all those things, along with 24, 25 points, that's kind of when the conversation starts to really be had. And it's like that territory of guys. And if they're playing good defense, even better. If they mean a lot to the, like for Randle in his case, obviously when he stinks, they look awful. Like it's been evident in many of the games. He's not going to be good every night, but anytime they've lost, I mean, typically it's an off Randle game to some degree. So, for me, I think, I don't know top where. I'm not trying to be ridiculous either, but it's like, yeah, I mean, why not? Well, what else are we really asking? Probably he scores a little bit more, right? That's always kind of it. That the MVP usually scores at a pretty close to 30 range, right? Like 27, 30. So again, I don't think he's maybe there, number 1 or 2 or 3, whatever. I don't know how you do the ranking at that level for him, but I'd say more than top 12 is what I would say. I would say pressing top 5. I think that's fair. I don't think that's unreasonable. I think if he can get them in the 4 or 5 seed, I think that's fair to say. I'm not saying he's got to get many votes. I'm saying like really, just acknowledge it. Just acknowledge how impactful it was. Say a couple nice things. Go, yeah, tip of the cap. Good job down there this season. I don't need the award, but just include him is all I ask if they're going to lock in a top seed. That's it. I think that's fair. And he's been going nuts statistically anyway to help his own case. So you got to close strong. You got 15 games here, buddy. Just keep this up. I understand the playoffs are coming up, but you got to get hot at the right time, and they really seem like they might have. So, if there's ever somebody who's going to be making a late case, this would be it. I don't think he gets it.
I don't want to be like over ambitious, but I think top 10 in the MVP that's how it should be. Like if you put pure value, you take him off this team. This is Tankathon All-Star team. Like, no, they're not doing much of anything without him. So if you're doing pure value, I think Embiid, Curry, Luka, maybe Jokic, like those are the only guys I'm really putting ahead of him right now.
Yeah, like he's got to be top 10 for sure. I mean, he's really done everything. Like Kyle said, what more can you really ask for from a guy? He's improved defensively. He's improved offensively. He's gone up to 40% from 3. Like he's
consistent.
That's the one. That's the one because he shot 28% from last year. Like 5%. I don't want to even cut you off. 5% would have been a big jump. Like 13% is just stupid. Like stupid, and it's from your power forward who's also now making the most assists in your team. He also now is the best volume 3-point shooter you have. That's stupid. It really is stupid. Continue your point.
You can't take anything away from him, and I think that sometimes like anybody who's saying that Julius Randle can't be a top 10 MVP guy, it's just a names thing. I think people get caught up in names. Like there's certain names you don't expect to hear in that conversation, or we have to see him do this for multiple years. No, the hell we don't. This is MVP of this season. This season, Julius Randle is playing phenomenal basketball. The Knicks are playing better. If we finish with a top 5 seed, I don't understand why he wouldn't be top 10 in the MVP race, especially if it's the media that votes, because the media said that RJ wasn't top 25 under 25, and that's his second best player. So what's really what are we really talking about? What's really the criteria? He's just been phenomenal. He stepped up on both sides of the floor. Randle, he's got MIP in the bag. Shout out to Jeff Van Gundy for like being somebody to say that on that platform. I think it also puts more pressure on voters to have to acknowledge that. But yeah, MIP for sure, All NBA for sure, and I believe that he deserves to be in the MVP race. Is he gonna win it? No. And not only has he been great, he's played every game except the one where he sat against the Bucks. He's been that guy, and he's been that guy every single night. Like, not a lot of players can say that. Joel Embiid is in the MVP race. He's like one of the favorites to win it, and he was out for like 3 weeks. And that's no knock on Joel Embiid, but it's just like Julius has been there every single night, giving the team the production. You don't even really know what the Knicks look like without Julius because he's always on the floor.
Right, and it was 27.7% from three last year from Julius. 40.5% at this moment. That's just amazing.
Yeah. The full line, because I do want to talk about the other accolades here too before we move off Julius. Okay, 23.7 points, 10.5 rebounds, 6.1 assists on the season. His shooting line is 46.1, 40.5, and then 80% from the line, basically, right? I would think for him to get the real consideration, and I do think it's a fair bar, is if he could just get the field goal which it sounds stupid. I'm aware it sounds stupid, but if he was just slightly closer to 50, 40, 80 is fine because he's, again, he's a forward. I think we have to keep remembering he's a power forward that's doing this. But I think if it was closer, I think that'd look prettier for people to want because everybody loves the 50, 40, 90 stuff. So as close as you can get to that, it just is what it is. It is what it is. And he's averaging just about 24 points, and he's on fire. Can you get that to 25? I think if you get that to 25, I don't think the efficiency matters that much. And then that's the nice round number everybody likes. So I think realistically, if you could at least hit 25, whatever the efficiency is, it is. The 3-point percentage can't possibly even tank at this point, really. You'd have to miss every shot, God forbid. So I don't know, man. I think, like Sean said, I think the All-Star, we know that's the check mark. That's done, right? Good work there. Mission accomplished. I think most improved player is pretty much in the bag because his other competition was Jeremy Grant and Christian Wood, right? And again, no disrespect to them, but Jeremy's been hurt now for a little bit, in and out. And I wouldn't say as ineffective, but he was more on fire to start the year. And the Pistons really still weren't winning a ton of games. And Julius has been on fire various times throughout the year as we've won a lot more games. So again, the all-around stats still go to Julius. So there's that. Then Christian Wood missed however much time he missed, which was a bunch of it, right? But again, good start to the season. Thanks. But the Rockets are god-awful, and that case is done. You know what I mean? You get a thumbs up. That's about it. So the award is Julius Randle's to me. That one's done. I think he makes All-NBA. I don't see how you leave him off All-NBA. I don't know if they're going to give him second team, but I just don't want to assume that kind of stuff. But I think you can make the case for second very easily, in my opinion. But I think if he lands on third, I'm not going to. That to me is one of the more. That's I don't care about MVP. Make sure he's on that one. To me, that's the most prestigious career thing. Because people look at All-Star, definitely. But with that, too, you want to look at well, how many was he All-NBA? Those are the really elite years that he was playing. For the most part. It's rough, but getting one of those to me is a really big check mark. And I feel for where he's at in his career, getting one of those is going to make him that's a big sense of accomplishment. I don't know, to me, for the players. So I think he could get it. What about you guys?
I mean, just off.
He's got
this.
to.
This is just the win streak stats. 7.2 3-point attempts per game. He's hitting 39.5%, shooting 84% from the line, 30.7 points per game. That's serious. And I'm just going through the MVP ladder on NBA.com. There's a couple names. I mean, let me know. Obviously, at the top is Joker. Then we got Embiid, Doncic, Giannis, Lillard, Kawhi, Harden, LeBron, which explain that one to me. Steph Curry, Rudy Gobert. I feel like that's going to be like your first two All NBA teams, no matter what happens. So I think he'll find himself on that third team. He has to, because like the next guys are all forwards and guards.
I don't know. I feel like, I heard a couple names on that list. I think that Julius Randle deserves All NBA.
Yeah, no, say it. I mean, I'll say it. He definitely deserves it right now over Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, LeBron hasn't played. It's not like we're not saying LeBron's ass. Obviously, that's stupid. But if you talk, like, at some point, these awards have to start reflecting what's actually going on in the league. Like, the Knicks were pretty much polled to be a bottom 10 team, and they're a top 15 team, like, pretty easily.
And he's like, because Kawhi Leonard's up there on the MVP ladder like that. And like I said, these people who are in the media who didn't put RJ on the all-rookie team, who didn't say RJ's top 25 in the 25, those things don't matter to me, but it does show their perception. So if that's his second best player, Kawhi Leonard plays with Paul George, who, beyond all the jokes or whatever, is having one of the best seasons of his entire career. So I just don't really see how his MVP case is not by the definition of the word. Like, most valuable player. Kawhi also sits a lot of games out. So it's just like Julius is there every single night, and it's his team. He's the guy, and like we said, when he's off, we stink. Like, not like, like it's a rough night for us if Julius doesn't have it going. So we just, I don't like people have to remove the names. I like those tweets where people put the stat lines and they say player A and player B. Like, I feel like that's how they should make people vote for certain things. Or that's probably stupid, but it should happen.
But I feel like it's getting to that point. And another thing that's kind of been like a big problem, mostly with the NBA, is players sitting games. And everyone's talking about like, oh, how do you fix this? Why don't you reward the players who are Iron Man? Because like Jimmy Butler, I love Jimmy, but like he should not be ahead of Julius Randle in MVP discussion, All NBA discussion. It's just is what it is. Kyrie Irving, same exact thing, probably even more so, because he's taken extended leaves multiple times. So why don't you use this as a way to reward people that are actually showing up and producing the numbers? So it's not like it's a charity award. I mean, we went through the numbers just now. The Knicks have 31 wins. What was their over-under was what, 22.5?
Yep.
Like,
wait, Mike, they have Jimmy Butler ahead of Julius on the MVP race?
Yeah, so it has the 10. I think I mentioned the top 5. It's Kawhi Leonard 6, Harden 7, LeBron 8, Curry 9. Curry should be way up there, but that's another discussion. Rudy Gobert 10. The Jazz are good. I'll give them that. Then you have, and 5 more is Donovan Mitchell, Booker, Kyrie, Jimmy Butler, and Chris Paul. Like, Chris Paul having an amazing season.
I would just like to pull them aside, and I would like to make them explain to me what the case is for Jimmy Butler being over Julius Randle, and I want legitimate answers only.
It's his name.
Because we're ahead of it's the name. Yeah, it's disgusting. That's not how this should be. We're ahead of the Heat in the standings. Julius is having a much better season, and Jimmy's missed a lot of time. There's really no reason at all for Jimmy to be ahead of Julius there. That's gross.
Normally for me, it's before you even get into the argument of their comparison. I just start at the time missed. That's kind of, and I work down from there. To me, I think that's always the most fair because that's how most of these awards are always judged. I felt like normally when we're talking about MVPs, if a guy plays 82 games in a traditional season, you're not going to give the award to somebody who played 56, 60 games, right? Like generally, because even with the Rookie of the Year stuff, that was the raging debate with Embiid, remember? He played 33, 34 games. He didn't play the full season, but he was wildly impactful. He was nasty, right?
Zion too.
Clearly a better rookie than Brogdon was. But Brogdon had a good season, played all the games every year, and they're like, all right, well, he just played, man. We got to give it to Brogdon. And it is what it is, but like that's how it went, and that's how like the precedent has been. So to me, like that's what I always kind of start at. It's like, well, that really gives you the credibility towards a full season or not. So not that Jimmy's been bad. He's been absolutely terrific since he's been back. If we're being completely honest, it's not about that. To me, it's more just at that point, they're both playing really high-level basketball. They both play pretty high-level all-around basketball for teams that are 500-ish or have been most of the season or, fighting to get over. So it's like, at that point, to me, you just look around and I think Randall's stat line's more appealing, and they have more team success, and he's played more games. And I think you always look at the full picture for these awards. Like, and even the All-NBA cases, like, that's how you should be making the case-by-case things. Like, I normally think it's pretty simple. I think when we fight about the awards, it kind of gets silly when we get bogged down in, like, who's got the better, like, really minute advanced stat type thing that I always see going on. But I usually think it's pretty simple, pretty crystal clear. So that's me. I would have him top 10 for sure. I don't know where in the top 10, but I probably have him hovering 10-ish. That's why I have him like second, third team. Like, to me, that's right where he is. I don't know how you can really argue that many more guys have been more impactful and better than him statistically, even. Because this stat line is very good. Like, you can't even scoff at what's happening anymore. Like, the assist after they dipped down towards 5, they started coming back up. And now they're 6.1 again. So, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know what else he would have to do at this point other than like a couple more buckets a game. Is that all that's missing?
On national TV. I don't know why. Like, he's had good national TV games, and just any other star player doing what he's doing right now for the Knicks, they're on ESPN front page all season. Because how many times have we heard who's going to save the Knicks? Who's going to do that? He's actually doing it, and I feel like people are just like, I don't know what the proper word is. Maybe awestruck. They're just like, wait, Julius Randle's the one doing this?
I do feel that people, and I don't want to downplay it entirely either, because I don't think it's super unreasonable. Because I don't think people are used to seeing somebody take a leap as big as he has taken, and I don't think that they, especially, were expecting it from somebody who's now a 7th-year pro. I think that's sort of the thing was when he did it. I think after, normally a certain amount of time goes by and you're like, all right, 3-4 years, you kind of like, this guy is who he is, right? Until we see otherwise now. And then that's kind of the reputation, like even like with a Frank, right? Or a Knox, it's like, all right, well, we've kind of seen them for a couple of years now. Like, maybe if they get more playing time, it goes slightly better, but like, you more or less know what you're going to get with those guys. So I think even for Randle, it was like, all right, yeah, you're going to get offense. He's going to score. He's going to rebound. Okay, he kind of is who he is. He does that for a few years, kind of confirms that to people. He turns 25, and nobody bats an eye and thinks that that's just kind of who he's going to be now. He figured out how to be a semi-effective basketball player. That's it. And for a lot of guys, that's kind of like what happened. So that's why I'm not saying it's not unreasonable. But Julius, he just, he just took like such a big leap. Like, I don't know how else to say it, like a really wildly big leap. And it was at a time when, normally guys don't take leaps this late, this, large. So it's a fair thing to consider, I would think. But even still, like, he's just so good, man. Just give him his credit.
His flowers.
I see a lot of accounts starting to. I think that's my other thing too. Like, I don't want to sit here and be, act like nobody's doing it either. A lot of accounts all over social media, all over Twitter especially, I see, are often tweeting his big stats out when he has a big night. They're often saying he's killing it. They're often pointing this stuff out. Maybe we're not used to seeing this so much, but this to me is like, this is why you're relevant. This is why you're the Knicks, When Julius Randle goes off, it's now getting covered. Like, I think we're finally just trying to get used to it again. But I'm seeing some stuff. People got to just like, even the Zion thing getting pulled on the media today. It was just like, we're the Knicks and we're playing well. And Zion looked giddy when you asked him about it. Like, it's Zion. RJ's on the team. Like, did anybody expect this to not get picked up? As soon as he smiled when they asked him about
and
it,
he
like,
also gave. I feel like he gave like his, like, he was expected to go to the Knicks. I feel like he gave the speech he was going to give when he got drafted, type of thing. And
if you look when he starts talking to, he's like, because I knew you see him like explaining. He's like, I knew you were going to ask that. So I don't know who he was talking to, but it seemed like he was like they were loading up to ask the question. He was like, all right, man, let's just get it over with. Like, I know what you're going to ask, type thing. And then it comes out and he's like, I guessed right. And now it's a funny joke. Like, that's kind of what it looked like to me. Because then he's just trying to like stammering to explain himself after that. And he's like, okay, of course, New Orleans, of course. And he's trying to like get serious again. So to me, it was definitely funny. I watched it a couple times. It was obviously it was enjoyable, but of course it's going to get picked up.
Shout out to the one Pelican fan that was in my mentions for like, I think 14 hours, just going at it with Knicks fans over this. Like, he was taking it so serious.
It's because they have nothing better to do. Like I saw a Pelicans fan saying, "Oh yeah, well, you guys are Knicks fans, blah blah blah," and they were like brought up the KD Kyrie Zion screenshot,
It's like, bro,
and I'm just
what are
like,
you
yo,
doing?
like, are you really serious? Like, there's no self awareness here. Your superstar literally wore a shirt that said, "That's all, folks. Don't talk to me."
I forgot about that.
Wore a shirt that said, "That's all, folks," and left. Like, please don't make jokes at us. And that's the thing. Like, it sucks that like I saw Chris Broussard up there trying to like, oh, Knicks fans, here they go again, and it's just like, yo, stop it. It's a joke to us. At the end of the day, like you said, it's funny. Like Zion won't really be free for like another 5-6 years. Like, okay, it's a prospect possibly down the road. That's cool. That was we already were making memes when they were standing next to each other. Like it was just we are in the thick of a playoff race. Like we just had back-to-back nationally televised games where Julius Randle was on display during and amidst I think what may be the longest win streak in the NBA against some of the best players in the league, winning Player of the Week in the week where Stephen Curry had one of the greatest weeks of his career. And they're talking about how Knicks fans want Zion Williamson. And it's like, come on, it's getting nasty. Like, just cover the games, bro. Cover what's going on with the team.
The thing was, though, it started out right because initially, after the Mavs game, it was a lot of Randle. I was seeing a lot of Randle on the shows, like when I was, flipping through, and I'm seeing the little clips floating around, and people are talking. Obviously, when you have your little national television week, like this is what happens, and when you show up and play well, they're going to talk about it. So it seemed like at first he was getting the love, and then even after this game, like if you want on ESPN or NBA.com, it's like Zion versus Randle, and that's headliner stuff, right? That's what we wanted for him. So it seemed, and like look at the duel, they both go off. Randle 34 leads Knicks to another victory, 6 in a row, and it's like, yeah, okay, this is nice. That's the good stories, right? And then of course, later it was probably a couple hours after that, and then the Zion thing, of course, people ran wild. So it stinks, but viral stuff's gonna happen sometimes, and it is what it is, I guess. But again, I think that's why we got we have this podcast here so we can ensure that Julius Randle gets his proper credits. And that we inform the good people about that.
I mean, if there ever was a contraindicator, is it not Chris Broussard? I feel like he's been wrong on just about everything that you could possibly be wrong on.
Boom.
Oh, yeah, I mean, nobody likes him.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's just crazy. But
I mean, once he went to Fox, that was it for me. I don't. That's like the abyss.
When it was him with the DeAndre to Dallas, like when he made a fool of himself, that was just like, all right, you're done. Like
he's made a fool of himself a couple times.
Bro, Mark Cuban was like, I'll send you money if you show me that screenshot. And then he I forgot what he said. I was just like, bro, you don't got shit. Like, you're just capping. But I got one Julius stat for you guys, though, just to hammer this point home before we take a break. Via StatMuse, who, by the way, shout out to StatMuse. They've been on the Knicks, I think, like a couple months now. So they've been showing love. Julius Randle's.
Quickly love, right. RJ love.
It's not just me thinking that. I think I even saw a Reggie Bullock graphic once. So, I mean, that's rare. So, but yeah, per StatMuse, he is one of 3 players in NBA history to average 20, 10, and 5 on 40% shooting from 3 that season. The other 2, Larry Legend and Nikola Jokic. I mean, who was, by the way, number 1 in the MVP discussion. So, there's a disconnect somewhere, man.
That's my point, right? Like, it would be nice if, like, for once, we would get like the hipster bandwagon, like everyone was just like fucking swooning over Julius Randle, like everybody, all like the white bloggers were just, oh my god, Julius Randle, did you see his stats in Raptors? Like, oh my god, did you see his LeBron, bro? Oh my god, like look at him, look, the Knicks can't stop what, like you would think, oh my god, another assist, another. And, you would think there was a little bit more of that. Again, that's why we exist. That's why the Knicks wall exists. But again, like the names that he's listed with are like 2, the most uber efficient playmaker dudes that have ever played so far, right? So, I mean, to be mentioned in company with those guys is it's not accidental. It's not an accidental disclaimer to get them in there. You know what I mean? Like that's you being very efficient and you being a very good playmaker. So much so that that's the list. It's you 3. Pretty good, man. Pretty good. That's why I said no matter which way you slice it with him this year, like the shooting points otherwise, I mean, it's all coming up Julius.
Dude, you really blew my mind. I haven't really noticed hipsters aren't really showing Randle that much love either. I'm so focused on the usual talk.
But they all acknowledge it is the thing. You talk to them, and they're like,
Right. Yeah, but
Yeah,
anyone
he's been
else, like Nikola Jokic, when
That's
Nikola
it.
Jokic broke onto the scene, these guys need a new pair of shorts by halftime. Where's this love for Randall? I just read the stat, and you see him night in, night out. He's doing some pretty crazy shit. Where's the love?
It doesn't have the cool name, but like it's gonna happen, and that's what I always say in post game prosperity. And everybody's like saying, "Oh, they don't say this or they don't say that." I'm just like, there's gonna come a point where they have to. We're the Knicks, so it's like now as you see people starting to talk about it a little more, like you're gonna have to respect it. And this somebody just tagged me, but the Knicks are number 9 on the NBA.com power rankings, so top 10. So like at that point, that's when the hipsters start. It becomes the cool thing to say. Now the hipsters will start saying it, but I can't remember the last time we were top 10. That's actually insane.
In 2012, 2013. And this, like, I'll say this before we head into break, because we could pick it up on the other side. They're 6 wins away from guaranteeing an over 500 record for the first time since the 2012, 2013 season.
I'm emotional.
This is like crazy. Like, I mean, we'll pick up the other side, but I'm pretty sure the highest total we had for the TKW roundtable, which is usually more optimistic than the average Knicks coverage, I think 30 was the highest number I saw. Maybe a 32 somewhere. But, I mean, we're 6 wins away from guaranteeing over 500 with a roster that won 20-something games.
I'm pretty sure I had us at like 30. Like I had us over 30 in the roundtable. I would have had us higher, but I was traumatized from last year.
You were a year early.
It was Fizdale's fault. I'm telling you, David Fizdale made me look crazy.
Yo, he fooled us all, man. He fooled us all.
I remember Sean's first prediction. I forgot the amount of wins this first season, but Sean gave us something wild, and I was like, bro, what? This team fucking stinks. What are you talking about? I was like, this is unbelievable. Where did you come with this prediction? And he's like, you'll see. And then we didn't because of Fizdale. And then after that, I was like, well, what could have been if we had anyone else coaching our basketball team for a year? But, it is what it is. Because we'll pick it back up on the other side. Talk about this win streak and, beating KP and Luka in Dallas once again. So we talked about the Pelicans game. We talked about Julius Randle, his All-NBA bid, in addition to all the other accomplishments he's going to get or already has this season. This beautiful, beautiful stats. But I want to talk about another game that happened during the winning streak, another national television game. The SmackDown that ensued in Dallas, where one Julius Randle rose to the occasion with 44 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. Another Julius Randle masterclass. I think he was 1 point away from his career high that he put on Enes Kanter, as we all famously know from a Hall of Fame level tweet from Julius Randle. But RJ Barrett also rose to the occasion, as he has done more and more frequently this year, being the perfect sidekick to Julius. And young RJ Barrett, in 46 minutes, put up 24 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. It was your classic, go beat up the X in Dallas, I guess. KP had 23, Doncic had 22 and 19 assists, which was obviously a high number, but the most important stat was that they took the L. So, Sean, what did you like about that game? Because there was plenty to like. I don't know.
That game, I really just loved. I loved the way that Julius came out. Like he just from the jump, he was just on it, and it was like, okay, he's here tonight. Like this is gonna be. You kind of knew it was gonna be a 40-point Julius night pretty early, and he had just come off the 30-point game against. He had back-to-back 30s against the Lakers and the Pelicans, his two former teams. And when he was talking to Clyde, he was like, yeah. And when Clyde mentioned it, he was like, yeah, now I'm going home. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And RJ himself said, when they made the schedule, like they set it up for this clearly. He's like, you knew he was going to do this. But what I really loved probably even more was in the fourth quarter, like, because RJ played 46 minutes. In the fourth quarter, where Julius got to sit down for a little bit. It was a close game. I can't remember exactly how close. And we pulled away. We created separation. because RJ Barrett took the game over in the fourth quarter on national television. And just seeing him do that, like seeing RJ be able to really make an impact like that and shift the game in the fourth quarter while Julius is out, to be able to be that second guy to step up, that's what legitimate second options do. Like they showed they were the best duo on the floor. And like people, when we traded that guy over there, they were trying to make them highly touted as one of the best duos possibly of all time, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff that we gave. They stole this. Oh, Mark Cuban, how do you feel stealing from the Knicks, blah, 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 all that. So to go in there and have the best duo on the floor was really beautiful. To see RJ be able to step up like that in the fourth quarter and take over a game was phenomenal. And it was able to, have us right at home. And then even beyond taking over the game in the fourth, he also hit the dagger over Kristaps, the mid-range jumper, where it was just like, yeah, come here, tall guy.
Sure did.
Right between the eyes.
And he got him in the post earlier in the game. He got swatted a couple times too. He did get. He's still RJ. Sometimes he gets in and he thinks he got the step, and he didn't. We've seen that all year too. That's like one. I never talk about it. Just like I never talk about his issues transition passing. I never do. I always that's the one thing I'm gonna, get myself on right now. I always ignore it, but he always gets in too far sometimes. And then he doesn't know where to go, and he throws it the little scoop helplessly, and then someone smacks it. It always happens like once a game. It's an awful thing. So he did get got a couple times in the Dallas game with that. But then he redeemed himself by throwing up that nice little shot on KP, because I thought KP was going to get it again, and then he did not. So it's the resilience, man. It's the resilience of RJ Barrett. It's what we talk about. He's a second half player. The stats have indicated this, because we've said this since last year. We've said it this year, have we not? And once again, this is what he did. So not surprised anymore, especially not by the takeover effect he's starting to have on things. But yeah, I mean, the dagger on KP was like a chef's kiss. It was beautiful. So, they got us at MSG. We got them back. It is what it is. We beat them both times last year too. So like most of the time so far, we play the Mavs has been going pretty well for us. So I'm just gonna keep taking that. We seem to rise to the occasion for those games at least. At least they know that they got to give us that much. But good game for me. I think my favorite game so far was probably, despite I don't know. It might be the Dallas game. I think it's got to be the Dallas game. Cause I really like yesterday too. I really did. I really like getting to like 6, not just 5, 4 or 5 wins. Like 6 is starting to be like, all right, this is. When we get to 7, 8 wins, like now we're really on to something. You know what I mean? Like 6 is like when the number starts to get really big to me. So I like that. I like the Randle Zion duel. I like the Zion first game, Zion versus RJ. There was a lot going on yesterday that I enjoyed. Matinee game. You guys know how much I love a good Sunday matinee. So it was hard, but I think I got to go with Dallas. It was just RJ was too good in that one, with Randle being like having a career game. It was in Dallas too. Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. It's been a good week, man. It's been a good season, but this has been an especially good week.
What made it even better was Porzingis clearly struggled, and the Nick that we actually don't hate, Timmy, had a good game. So that was always good. And then Dorian Finney-Smith, I don't know what the hell he was thinking at a certain point. He drove at the rim 3 times, and 3 times Nerlens not just blocked him, but he embarrassed him pretty considerably, to where the third time Richard Jefferson yelled. Like he yelled, that's how fucking hard the block was. It's just like, bro, what are you thinking?
It's a no-fly
bro,
zone.
It's like, do you not read a scouting report? And then Ingram again on Sunday, just trying it. It's like, bro, try that on somebody else. You're not getting that over on Noel.
He gets people because his timing is so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like because even if to the untrained eye, like I'm sure the people who aren't watching who don't watch Knicks games, if I didn't watch every Knicks game, I would think those are going to be dunks. But if Nerlens Noel is in the vicinity, I'm like, no, it's never too late. Like it's because he'll get people when they're right at the basket. He times it perfectly. He places his hand perfectly and just gets it right out of there before. And it's just like, wow. So yeah, guys will be above the rim thinking they got it, and it's like, no, sir. So it's a beautiful thing, to be able to have that kind of faith in him down the stretch. The Dallas game was huge. It was one of the and just because we all wanted it so bad too. Like I think that in the Pelicans game, you know, it kind of like shifted how I felt because, like Kyle said, like when you get to 6 wins, like once you get over 5, that's where like the whole league has to take notice. Like when you win 3 or 4 in a row, it's like okay, you guys are doing pretty well. But when it's like 6, 7, you know, that's when you're like, okay, you're like the hottest team in the league right now. Like what's going on over there? What do they have happening? So that's a beautiful thing. But the Dallas game really was just great because it was prime time. Like, you know, it was a revenge game for sure. Like it really sucked to lose him the week before. So to be able to go in there and get that dub, beautiful.
It gave me vibes. Do you guys remember a little before Melo got there? It was when Amari called the team out, and then they went off to win 8 games in a row, and the season, it just shifted the whole season. That's what Sunday reminded me.
There was a very specific story with that. Do you guys remember that?
I can't remember completely. I just remember shit. I remember it was Sacramento. Something happened in Sacramento. Bring it back because
Amari chucked his sneaker across the room. One of his big, whatever size sneakers. He had his tirade, yes, but then the one like note from the story I believe was that he threw his sneaker across the room in anger, and from there, we stopped the putrid basketball and merely started to play respectable 500 level basketball.
Shout out to Amari, man. He really does not get enough credit for turning the ship around the first time, and then, as usual, the front office blew it up. But yeah, it gave me those same vibes. And that team, like I said, that's around the same time I felt like I was watching a team. I feel like the Knicks also have the top bench in the league. Like, no matter, like, if somebody goes down, 5 other people come and help him up. And shout out to Theo Pinson because he's the captain of that bench mob. And it's just, I feel like we're at that place. Remember when the Nets were getting so much credit, which I think Theo was on that bench too, right? Yeah, so like he's just, there's something good about him. Reggie tweeted something out that Theo deserves a max, long-term deal. Why not? I mean, if he's that effective, he clearly affects chemistry in a positive way. Because, I mean, night and day with the bench mob.
Theo is huge. Like, I remember toward the end of last season when they cut Alonzo Trey and signed Theo Pinson, and I was just like, what are they doing? Like, what's that for? But I am 100% glad they made that move. He definitely has a huge impact on the team, the bench mob, like all the camaraderie, everybody plays an integral role in this team, and everybody's playing their role, and it's just really dope to see. Like, you know, like it. I couldn't be happier. This is really the best time we've had as Knicks fans in literally over half a decade.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, and this was a question I genuinely wanted to bring up onto the podcast. I didn't want to talk about it as a certainty all year. I don't even want to get this way. This is against everything that I believe in as a mostly pessimistic Knicks fan, but I think they're almost a lock to make the playoffs. I really do. I don't think that they're going to be falling that much. I don't see it. Like they could. Don't get me wrong. The East has been very tight most of the year. It's been a dogfight most of the year. They've been right in the thick of, they haven't really fallen under 8, but they've gotten down to 8, as high as 4. I firmly am starting to believe that they're going to be a 4 to 6 team. I think with 15 games, they have a lot of momentum right now with the way that Randle's been playing, but also the way RJ's been playing because he's been stepping up a lot more lately. But, Noel's been on fire defensively. Reggie's been on fire in his role. Rose has been big off the bench now that he's been back and healthy. So it's like, it's tough, man. I don't know. I don't know where they're going to land, but because of that, and I think that they're going to be a playoff team, where would you guys then think the results of the playoffs would go? I'm not saying necessarily which seeds that they would play today, like who they'd play today exactly. We got to do a playoff preview, but like, what do you think that you think their floor and kind of cap can be as a playoff team here? So, Mike, I'm going to lob this one to you to start.
And depending on the matchup, I know everyone's writing it off as like, oh, we got to the playoffs, we're happy to be here. If they run into the right team like Milwaukee, which is not that good of a playoff team, in my opinion, I think if you pack the floor against them, it becomes very problematic for them. I think if you run into them, they'll give them a fight. I don't know if I'd go as far as a series win, but I could see them taking Milwaukee 6 games easily. I think the only team that would blow them off the map are the Nets, because the Nets will probably be at full strength. So I really think a competitive first round is the floor, and then the ceiling, I think, is second round. I think by then, once you reach the top echelon of the teams, they just don't have enough weapons outside of Randle, and we haven't shit on Elf really, but in the half court, I think is where he's going to get exposed severely, especially against really good defensive teams, because in the half court, it's going to get really ugly where they're just going to do what the Heat did and then just leave Elf to himself. So I think so to answer your question, I think a competitive first round series is the floor. Ceiling is a second round exit.
I personally would pray that we wouldn't get to the playoffs and still be having the shrunken floor problems. Especially after seeing Emmanuel quickly down the stretch yesterday, how poised he was, even though the floater didn't drop, like he just looked like he was ready to be on the floor. So I feel like he should be on the floor more. And I feel like we're a better team if he is. But I mean, in my opinion, I feel like if we get a 4 or 5 seed, that's my target. I love that matchup, whether it's, Atlanta, whether it's Boston, I'm with that. If we slip to 6 and we play Milwaukee in the first round, like Mike said, we can shrink the floor. Like we are defensively, our defensive game plan is going to be solid. We know that, regardless of who we play. So I feel like teams that allow you to, game plan for something, it could help a little bit. I could see us possibly putting up a fight. We'd put up a fight with anybody, I think, except maybe the Nets. I don't want to see them in the first round for sure. I'd rather not see them at all, but I don't want to see them in the first round. My ideal scenario is we play in the first round. We beat either Boston or Atlanta, and then we get a second round matchup with the Sixers. And we've played the Sixers pretty close every single time. Tibbs game planning against Ben Simmons and him not being able to shoot could help us a lot. And I just think that, you never know what could happen. Like, we probably don't win that series, but I mean, we've been competitive with the Sixers. It seemed every time we played them, really. So we're playing our best basketball right now, especially after the momentum of winning one playoff series, coming into a second round series against the Sixers. I'd be pretty confident. Does that mean we're going to go to the Eastern Conference Finals? No, but hey, man.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this because there's two thoughts, right? Like the first thought is most of their games this season have sort of been playoffy. They've been very close. They don't play in many blowouts in either direction, right? We're not getting blown out anymore, but we're also not really blowing teams out. We're just kind of winning, just kind of a regular moderate amount, or usually some pretty close games, right? So it's like they're certainly tested and experienced enough now, having gone through those situations all year. They played in a lot of really high pressure games, really last second games. But the other side of it is what we often see in the playoffs every year is it gets very difficult for a lot of stars. Everybody likes to focus on there's always one guy who has a bad playoff, right? But it just gets more difficult for them in terms of everybody. Your efficiency goes down. Your turnovers are up. They're keying in on you now in a way that they couldn't do in the regular season, because now it's just you and them for up to 7 games, right? So not to say that Julius is going to have some sort of bad series or anything like that, but this is normally when you need to have a lot more offensive firepower to get by. So it's going to be RJ is going to have to really step up and perform, which could definitely happen. But then it's also going to be guys like Rose really got to be on and scoring, because Alfred isn't, right. Quickly's got to really show up. He's been, you guys know I love Quickly, but as any rookie, there's going to be ups and downs. He's had a little inconsistency sometimes with his streaky shooting, but again, he's a shooter. He's a young shooter. That is very literally part of the process, and I don't think you can keep a weapon like that on the bench in the playoffs. But again, he's just got to be hitting, right? So it's going to take a lot for them to get by in the playoffs, even with the defense, I feel like. So I sort of mostly agree. I think obviously they're going to be a first-round team because they're in the first round, or will have a first round, right? But yeah, I don't see why not, depending on the matchup, especially if they get into 4 or 5 territory where you might play the Hawks up to 7 games. The Knicks could beat the Hawks in 7 games. Not scoffing at them, but they're very same tiered. If they get the Celtics in that same territory, right? Like there's a lot of teams that they've either beaten or they're sort of on equal footing for this season. So I really wouldn't be scared then until the second round, depending on who you get. So, but again, depending on the draw, when you are kind of in a decent playoff position like they are, like you can make some noise. So I would hope that they can get a more optimal seed, but I think second round is probably where I think their cap is going to be, but it depends on the matchup. Depends on the matchup. You might get a good draw in a weird season like this. You might get a good draw and get a path to the conference finals. You never know. But you got to take care of business in this pocket. You got to be 4, 5, 6. Do not fall any further. Do not mess around with the play-ins. Do not leave anything to chance with these buzzsaw matchups that you might get with 1 and 2 or whoever. You know what I mean? Just take care of business now. Really play these guys more minutes if you got to. Lock in the seeds. I don't care. Whatever you got to do to get 4, 5, 6 right now. That's where my head's at. You do that and you really put yourself in a good spot.
And they have a very favorable schedule this next week where they can really add on to that security blanket and finish above 500, but even move up. I think they could pass the Hawks realistically. They have Charlotte coming up. That's a huge game. They have the Hawks coming up right after that. Raptors, Suns is a tough game. Then you got the Bulls and Houston. Those are a lot of winnable games and that's one thing they've been good at. They've beaten teams that they should beat. So this is the time to do that. And if they can do that, you play yourself into a matchup with the Hawks. I feel very good going into a series with that where you don't have that one scorer who's used to the playoffs. Because Trae Young, as great as he is, I'd love to see him in a slowed down game because I don't think he's going to be as electric as he is in a regular season where everybody's running up and down the floor. So you start to get to 4-5 territory. Now you're starting to play yourself into second round territory.
I would just love to see what the Hawks would do with Julius Randle for 7 games.
Cry.
Or 5 games. Or
he'd have John Collins in hell.
Oh, he put him in the spin cycle.
Hell. But, I'd be more interested to see what the scheme would be with, a Capella there. Because that, that's going to be what they're going to try to do is muck up the paint and then do some sort of extra help with him or, disguise the help. You know what I mean? One of those situations. And then it's a longer guy. Then, maybe it gives him problems. I don't want to speculate too much. Hawks have been pretty good under McMillan. I don't know that I buy them being a 4 seed. I think they've just been on fire mostly. As if in fairness. But we shall see. But yeah, I'd love to get the Hawks. I'd love to get almost anybody you can give me in a 4-5. If we got the 4 or 5 seed, I'd almost doesn't matter.
I don't want to see. I'll speak up here. I do not want to see Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
I don't, but they don't look. I don't believe in them. They could definitely be. I'm not going to sit here and scoff at it, but of all the draws you can get, I could at least go. Okay, you know what? We can at least go 6-7 games here. I would feel pretty confident. Even if we're on equal footing, I'd be more scared of them than the Hawks, though. I'd give you.
I'd rather see the Celtics than the Bucks.
Really? All right. So top 3 teams you don't want to see. For me, Nets.
I don't want to see Brooklyn.
Yeah, same. Nets, Celtics, and Miami. Those are the 3 teams I really don't want to see. The rest I'll live with. I really feel confident. Giannis
I don't want to.
great.
I don't want to deal with playoff heat.
No, I don't.
Playoff heat's
I don't.
Bro, I know the Knicks and Heat fans have this weird thing on Twitter going, which I still don't quite understand. I don't know if it's all over the Harrell RJ stuff, but whatever it is, or if it's the Randall Bam All-Star stuff, I don't know what it is, but I don't want to deal with the playoff heat. I just don't. That's not something that interests me. I know they're going to show up and kick ass in the first round. I want no parts of it. They're going to do the whole. It was a big surprise thing, even though we know how well they've been playing the last couple of months, and then I want no part of the Heat.
I don't know. I'm not afraid of the Heat. In 7 games, I think that they got lucky. We played them 3 times. RJ missed a game-winning layup one time. We got robbed by the refs in 2 of those games, I believe. And Tibbs killed us by leaving Alfred on the floor so that they could double off of him all game. But I feel in a 7-game series, I'd rather see, because you have the Heat on your list, but you don't have the Sixers. Yeah. I don't really want the Sixers in the first round.
Yeah, me neither. Overall, I'm talking. I want to see the Sixers, period. Embiid's just Embiid, man. I just don't want to deal with it.
I don't want to play teams that play like us, but better. I don't want to play the Sixers because, they can be more physical than us because, Embiid and Simmons are bigger and more physical. And even Tobias, That's an annoying team to have to deal with. Like in the half court, they're all set. They got Al Horford out of the way. Doc has them playing like basic sensical basketball now, right? With those three guys, it makes plenty of sense. That's why they've been so good this year. I want no parts of those guys in the playoffs. But no, the Heat thing, it's not so much being afraid of them. I just think it's a coaching thing too. I think that's when the coaching issues are going to really rear their heads. And for the Heat, most of the time, that's Spo, like MacGyver, figuring out a solution for everything, right? He's what people pretend Brad Stevens is. And that's the guy I don't really want to deal with when like we're going to be shouting like, why is Elfrid Payton closing this game? Are you kidding me? We're down 5. There's a minute and a half left. We need quickly. Like I feel like we're going to be in that situation, you know? And I think that's more when we get to the coaching issues than not. So like I don't want to be playing the Heat and playing those games. I'd rather be yelling that at another team where we still, like the regular season here, have had chances to win.
I just pray he doesn't do that to us in the playoffs, man. Like,
you can't rule it out.
Games up from it, but we can't. We've come this far. There's like 14 games left in the season, so we clearly can't rule it out because we're pretty close to it and it's still happening. But I just hope that something happens over these next couple of weeks to show him, okay, I can't play around like this.
I think it's going to take one game in the playoffs, and then Thibodeau's going to be like, all right, I can't do this. Especially if you face like the Heat, like Kyle said. I think their biggest asset beyond Bam and Jimmy, obviously, is Spo. And I think Spo will find a weakness and he'll exploit the shit out of it. And in the half court, it's Elfrid Payton. And I think that's exactly why I don't want to do that. Versus other teams, I don't think Atlanta would be smart enough to just leave Elf alone. I don't like.
And the thing is, like, you know, because coaching issues like that are frustrating in the regular season, but in the playoffs, they become things you never get over. I will never get over that game 2 against the Celtics where Melo had like 42, 17, and 6.
Jared fucking Jeffries.
And was about to win the game. And then we call a timeout. We're down by 1. And I'm like, okay, out of this timeout, all we need is offense right now. There is no reason, absolutely no reason for Jared Jeffries to come out of this timeout and be on the floor. And what happens? We come out of the timeout. Jared Jeffries is on the floor. Melo gets doubled. Throws it to Jared Jeffries on a roll. He has a perfect roll to the basket. He drops the ball off his foot out of bounds. We lose the game. Melo's 42.17-6 is now not something we can talk about because it was an L. So I really don't want that to happen in the playoffs. This year's been too much fun.
I hate Jared Jeffries.
I think today's the anniversary of that, actually. Ironically
it
enough.
Is. Is it?
Yeah.
I saw. Oh yeah, I saw Matt. SNY tweeted about it, but that was an excellent game. First of all, that was the one that got me where I was like, all right, man, if they build this team right around Melo, like, because everybody forgets too. Everybody looks back and was just like, oh man, see, he was just shooting all the time, whatever. Like, look who was out there on the floor with him in that game, bro. They were mad shorthanded. Like, they had nobody. Like, it wasn't just that they had made the trade or whatever, but I think Chauncey was hurt, right? I'm not lying about that. Chauncey was hurt. Amari, we know, was hurt in that game.
Amari pulled a muscle in his back
pre-game
in layup lines.
So there's no Tyson Chandler yet, right? He doesn't exist yet on this basketball team. So it was just like it was like Melo, Anthony Carter, and Jared Jeffries going to war, and it's like, so yeah, he went nuts, man. But like that's how a lot of those games were for Melo. So but that was a masterclass. He was so dominant that game. That was
incredible.
It really was an incredible, again, masterclass. Like it really was. It was.
D'Antoni ruined it.
He had a killer mentality. Like you saw him too. Like Melo was just in like, all right, lights out, blackout, killer mode. Like I just gotta. I'm just shooting like rebound. Like where he was just active the whole game. Like it was like Spidey senses were on. It was amazing. But you know, it is what it is. They didn't do him justice. They didn't do. You know, I don't know. But back to a happier note. This team's the best team since 2012, 2013. That was a great Melo year. Let's just get the Jared Jeffries taste out of our mouths. Hey, I can't.
You guys want to know the starting lineup? The starting lineup for that game was Carmelo Anthony, Tony Douglas, Ronnie,
Sean Williams.
No. Sean Williams coming off the bench. My guy, Sean Williams. Landry Fields, 2 for 4 that game. Amari, Ronnie Turiaf. Bill Walker went 0 for 11 in that game. And Jared Jeffries somehow went 5 for 7.
I wasn't even angry at Bill Walker, to be honest with you, because I knew he was trying. I knew he was trying though, right? Somebody had to try. Like 0 for 11 was not ideal, all right? But I wasn't gonna kill him
You can't make one
because
by
he was
accident.
like he was the only other offense that we had at the time.
Yeah.
Like that was his thing. He was actually a pretty decent like bench, like sort of a plug and play starter type scorer. So I mean, yeah, ideally he hits some of those threes, and then we don't lose that. We don't have the issue, but like someone had to shoot.
Yeah.
Do we want Anthony? Do we want Anthony Carter to shoot, or do we want Ronnie Terry off post ups? Like, I mean, we didn't have many options here when Melo wasn't shooting the basketball.
Roger Mason was on that team. Shout out Roger Mason. Wow, this team was really bad, man. I don't even know who Derek Brown is. Like, I'm just seeing that name. Like, I can't even put a face to his name.
It was ridiculous. I'm never gonna forgive Mike D'Antoni for not giving Melo that dub.
It's rough, but better days lie ahead. As we said, the Knicks have 5 games left on this homestand. Coming up is the Hornets, which has some playoff implications. But Sean, you got anything to plug other than post-game prosperities, which seems to just be you yelling for an hour now because there's nothing else to do because it's just straight wins.
I told everybody, as long as this win streak lasts, the energy will go up with every single post-game prosperity, and I'm a man of my word. So I'm recharging my vocal cords, getting ready for tomorrow's dub. Just subscribe to the YouTube, tune in. Also, RJ Barrett song on the way, so be on the lookout for that as well.
No doubt. Kyle, anything coming up that folks should be looking forward?
No, I mean, I would just like to take this time on a week when Julius Randle and RJ Barrett were lights out to remind you guys to go to designtree.com/the-Knicks-wall and pick up some Lucky Lefty shirts. Pretty good, man. One of our better ones of late. Pretty happy about it. And you guys should be too, especially with them playing as good as they are. So pick up a couple of shirts, support the brand. Aside from that, nothing crazy. Just keep tuning in. Good couple weeks here. Good to be positive about Knicks basketball, especially in April. Because when was the last time we could really do that? Not really in the existence of this podcast. So it's a good time. Good fresh start on things. Happy to not be pessimistic and angry on this podcast consistently. It's been a nice change of pace. Really has been. So just want to say that before we even get to the playoffs. So good time so far. And let's get that 4 seed.
Yeah, 100%. Until next time.
Adios.